All right, today I'm speaking with Liz Callingbull Taylor. So Liz was born in Edmonton on July 1st, 1963. She was raised in Enoch until the age of 2 when she was stolen from her family by the policies of the 60s scoop. She experienced childhood sexual abuse in foster care and became pregnant at the age of 13. While she did have stable housing for several years in a different province, a family emergency brought her and her daughter back to Edmonton. They had to start over with nothing, and she began working in the sex trade in Edmonton's inner city in order to provide for herself and her daughter. She was quickly able to save enough money to move into a townhouse away from the inner city. However, with her new income level came an obsession with money and earning more. This led to her feeling shame, and she began using substances to cope. Eventually, her substance use led to homelessness. It took many years, but she was able to leave sex work and overcome addiction thanks to the help from some formidable women and support workers whom she was eventually able to trust. She is now doing well, but as a result of her traumatic experiences, she lives with complex post-traumatic stress disorder and dissociative identity disorder. She makes her home in central Edmonton with her cat, Miss Bobby, and enjoys crocheting and beading in her spare time. Thanks to programming offered by Kindred House and the U of A, she has recently discovered an affinity for creating art. She believes that due to her experiences of being raised white and then reclaiming her indigeneity, she can be a bridge between these two worlds. She would like to use her experiences to bring understanding to mainstream society as to why some experience homelessness and addiction. Trauma has brought me here, but it's not my everything anymore. Welcome, Liz. So Liz Callingbull Taylor.
That's me.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. I tried to get you for a while, and then obviously, things happen. But like you said, third time's a charm.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool when we first met. I felt like we connected immediately. We do have some similarities in our past, obviously very unique. Everybody is unique in their own way, but we met. We were giving a talk to new recruits for the police service, and they wanted me to share my story, and that's how I met you. Yes. And immediately I was like, Liz, we need to talk and get into some of this stuff a little bit more.
Yes.
Because, and we were just talking before we started this, it's important, and it's not heard, it's raw, and a lot of people don't want to hear the rough side of life. I know my grandmother, for instance, she's sweet, but anytime you're like, man, you should listen to this story, it's like a very tough story. She's like, I don't want to really hear it. She wants to live in her bubble, and I think a lot of people want to do that. So, you grew up as part of the 60s scoop.
Yes.
So for those that don't know, do you want to explain what the 60s scoop is a little bit?
I was very young, so I'm originally from that Enoch Cree Nation just outside of Edmonton.
Right.
I lived on the reserve until I was about 2, and then they came and took all of us. There was at the time I didn't know how many siblings I had because I was very young.
Of course.
So they took us all away, and then I went into residential school. I do remember bits and pieces of it, but because of the trauma I went through there, a lot of it's blocked out simply because I can't cope with all the pain and everything and the trauma I went through in that school. It was horrific.
Yeah.
I used to be left-handed. I no longer am, because that was literally, if you see all the scars, I wish you could see them. I've got, those rulers with the metal pieces in them?
Yeah.
You see all those? That's what those are from.
So they used to hit you for using...
Oh, they hit me all the time.
Wow.
And anytime I spoke, the other thing I have is I haven't been able to speak my own language, because that was literally beat out of me.
And that was Cree, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So... I was lucky in a sense. My mom, even though my mom, my biological mom, I don't remember her, she came to visit me and she stole me from there.
From residential school?
Yeah, and then she died the weekend she came out. She got murdered that weekend.
So she came and got you. How long were you in residential school
Not
for?
very long. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Right. Honestly, I'd either be dead or broken.
And you're seeing a lot these days of all the grave sites and everything. All this is starting to research, and it's still happening.
Yes.
It's I don't think that everything has been fully realized yet. I mean, we're only seeing like the surface of it, and it's already like
Oh, I have some
it's
horrific
wild.
stories of residential school. People don't want to hear them though, because they can't. They have to understand the cruelty of the Christian church. I knew this woman. She was young and she kind of took me under her wing because I didn't understand what was happening to me, and I've always been very straightforward, very. I don't get it. No, and so I'd get beat for it. So she took me under her wing, and she was pregnant. And I
Okay.
remember, like, I seen her after that, and she's like, she was on the street. This is a tough story to hear. She had her babies. I think she was like 12 or 13. I'm not sure of the age, but I know she was older than me when I seen her back out there. And she made me laugh. She's like, your voice hasn't changed from when you were 2 till now. It's like,
Oh, wow.
Right? So she made me laugh. But her story was heartbreaking. She gave birth to a child through sexual abuse in a residential school. She was, I think, 12 or 13, and they watched them. This is horrific. Okay, this is really, 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 really horrific. The people that work there. I'm not going to say priests or nuns. I'm just going to say the people that work there burnt her child
Wow.
in a furnace. She followed them because she's going to try and steal her baby back.
Jesus.
But she wasn't the only one. These are the stories
That's
that have
wild.
put people out on the street.
Yeah,
that have
yeah,
done
yeah.
the
How do you recover for something like that?
With
That's
lots and lots of
that's-
formidable women in my life who have helped me get to where I am today.
Yeah, I met one of them too.
Yeah,
and she was
she's
a very
an
sweet
amazing,
lady.
amazing woman.
Yeah.
When I was on the street, I gave up. Is what happened. I had lived in a white world pretty much my whole life.
Yeah. So, and just I might be jumping all over
No,
the
that's
place
okay.
here, but just so like I'm understanding it. So, you were taken from your family when you were around 2,
Yeah.
and then you were put into a white foster home, basically.
Well, I went from So I went from there, from my home, and it wasn't a healthy home either. Both my parents had trauma responses, like
Yeah.
alcohol. From there, I went to residential. From
Right,
residential
right.
school, I got stolen, and then I was there.
Oh
when
yes,
my mother,
that's where we stopped.
My
ended
mother,
off.
apparently, I don't know. I was maybe 3. I don't know. A lot of details have been lost.
Sure.
Because the person who had taken me in, because I was lucky enough to meet a psychiatrist.
Oh,
Because I
wow.
was in the paper for this little Indian girl who they found in a bus depot.
Really?
That's how and they picked me up, and he came in, and he's like, this is hard for me.
No, yeah, and
yeah,
take it
so-
down. We're chill.
My mother was murdered in front of me, but I don't have any memories of it because I have those blocks to keep me
Yeah.
from
Keep you
fracturing.
safe. Yeah.
So they found me in the bus depot, and then from there, I went into foster care. Now, from the
Okay.
time I was 3 till I was 5.5, I had four different foster homes before I came to the last one.
And what caused all these transitions? Were they because there's some people say that they don't want to keep children in the same foster home for a long period of time because they don't want them to become attached,
Yes.
so they move them around. And was that the case?
Well,
Or is it behavioral? Or
I'm not. Okay,
Not really
here's the
sure.
thing. I tried to get my records from foster care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I got what I call a fairy tale. I got 12 pages of absolutely nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I'm in the process of doing the same thing.
Bad luck.
And yeah, and part of me is like, do I even want to read this? Because, like you said, you sort of like block some things out. But I'm like, at the same time, I kind of want to see if there's anything.
Yeah,
But
they give you nothing pertinent about your own life. They redact
a lot of everything?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
Hugely. Like I wanted the names of the foster homes I was
Yeah.
in. They wouldn't give them to me. I wanted to know where my father was. They wouldn't give that to me. I wanted to
Interesting.
know about where my sister was murdered here in Edmonton in '78. And I wanted all the information about my family. This is
course.
my
Yeah,
family.
yeah, of
and they said
course.
they couldn't give it to me. Now, a lot of times this happens to me, not because I don't know what I'm doing, but because I'm Aboriginal. I find here in this city and a lot of, pretty much all over Canada, there's a different set of rules for Aboriginal people and then other people. We get treated differently a lot. So it's hard.
That is hard. Damn. Okay, so you get moved around from foster home to foster home. We're not really sure exactly why, but that's the case.
Yeah.
And then where are we to? What happens? Take us from there.
So I got into I called them mom and dad. I went to a place called Doreen and Les Prossers, about 20 miles east of Viking, Alberta.
Okay.
It was a farm. And I love this little story because my mom told it to everybody before she passed.
Okay.
I was tiny. I was 5.5, but probably about the size of a 3-year-old.
Oh.
And they were very excited to get me. And so mom had bought all these clothes for size for a little 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And she says, when you walked, I knew at the age of 5, I'd never had a childhood. So I knew I had to present well to hopefully get in a home. I knew that already at that age.
Isn't that wild?
Right?
How you're conditioned in such a way?
So I was I don't know where I was, but I remember getting a skirt and a slip and socks and a pretty frilly blouse, doing my hair. And then I got mortified because when we walked in and I was so scared, I froze. And when I froze, my slip fell off. And I was mortified. And I ran into the bathroom and I wouldn't come out. And that's when they said they were going to keep me.
Oh, wow. They like that. They're like, you know what? We'll take her. I just learned, actually, I watched a movie called Meadowlarks. Have you ever heard of that?
I don't think so.
You should. Honestly, it's a Edmonton-based filmmaker, all Indigenous cast. It's about a Cree family that gets taken in the 60s, scoop 5 siblings and spread across Canada, and they come back and they have a reunion in their like 50s. But in that movie, I learned that they used to have children in the newspaper as like adopt this Indigenous boy, and one of the characters says like, "Oh yeah, that's part of my story," and that kind of blew me away. That it's my own ignorance. That's something that I'm learning is that this was normal practice back then.
Well, being Aboriginal here, even in this day and age, I wouldn't say it's gotten better. It's gotten subtler. That racism, it's still there. Every day, I used to, I was lucky enough that my mom was very formidable, and I'm very grateful I had her in my life. Because she always said to me, and my name back then, they called me Lisa. She's like, Lisa, you're always going to have to be 100 times better than everybody else because of the color of your skin.
And was this your foster mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
I call her my mom.
No, that's good. I just wanted to clarify.
She's my mom. Because my own biological mom, even though she rescued me, she also tried to kill me. I know. I laugh about it because it's the only way I can deal with it.
Yeah.
She tried to kill me and my older sister.
Seriously?
She sat me on the stove and she put my sister in the oven.
Holy
I know I laugh about it, but it's the only way I can cope with it.
Well, it's kind of crazy. You start to think about it like, they tried to put me in the oven.
No, and I kind of remember that because I had to. It's funny how your skin grows. So the scars are on the back of my knees, and where the skin grafts are, they're up in here.
Wow.
Because they took them from my shoulders, and it's fun. I always thought you just grew. Your skin goes down as you get
so
old.
It just moved from there to there.
Yeah. So I didn't know that.
Wow. Well, we just learned that together.
So I've had for me to be here, it's taken me a long time. I'm 62.
Yeah.
To be very proud of myself for everything I've been through. I let it define me for a long time because I didn't know how to. I was so deeply ashamed of myself, basically.
Was it when you say you're ashamed? Where did that shame really come from?
Society.
Other people kind of look down on you?
Society, basically, because I remember. I remember trying to get a job when I was in my 20s here in the city, and it was almost impossible. I'm so grateful my parents had money, so they were able to open a few doors for me to get jobs. But after my mom died and I had lost my son, I had started to drink. So then I was that typical Aboriginal person, right? But
Right, all the
I worked
stereotypes
hard.
that go around. They're like, oh, well, yeah.
I gave up. Like after doing it, I was in my 30s when my son passed. So you think about it from the time, that's 27 years of being an Aboriginal person, living in a white world. And back when I was young, I was that little speck of pepper in the salt shaker. All you see is that little dot. That was me. Right?
Wow.
So it was tough.
No, so yeah, I'm trying to just, so
We went from foster care.
So you go to the foster care you're living with. You said you had a really nice mom,
Yes.
right?
My dad, on the other hand, wasn't.
Yes, and I remember this about your story. You said that you were pregnant at the age of 13.
Yes. I gave birth when I was 13. Yeah.
So tell me about that. Like, how did that happen? And
So, I used to think it was just the foster kids that my father was abusing, but it wasn't. He also abused his own children.
And this was the husband of the...
Yes, the husband of my mom. And
Wow.
I was 12. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to get my story, was to see if they'd put in there that I had reported I was being touched inappropriately in this home.
Mm-hmm.
I went to my social worker, and so that's always been in me, that I gotta do this. Like, you're not going to stop me.
No, that's
and I'm
good.
grateful for that.
Me too.
But so I went to my social worker, and guess what she did? This is funny. It's not funny, but it is. She went to my foster parents and told them what I told her.
To try to like confirm the story.
I don't know. I still don't know. So I was labeled a troublemaker and a liar for that, and it's funny. My sisters now say, "Well, we always wondered what happened to you because you were such a happy little girl until I hit about 8 or 9." And
Right.
that's when he started, and
All your innocence was taken from you at that point. Yeah.
So instead of foster care tried to get me to give my child up.
So
And-
was he the father of this child?
Yes.
Oh, he was.
Yes.
So that must have been.
But we all
Hard to-
pretended it wasn't. Like,
Didn't want to.
No.
Yeah.
So my mom, I was 13, 12, 13. When I first got pregnant, she took me to some dance classes, introduced me to a friend of a son of a friend of hers, who was highly unhealthy, mentally and emotionally, and they stuck us together. He was 18 or 19, and I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got married to him when I was 15 by 4 days.
The heck?
And here's the worst part. Foster care, because I was a permanent ward of the court, I was PGO, they agreed to it. They legally agreed to have me get married at the age of 15 by 4 days.
That's a whole. We're gonna unpack that in a second. We need to go back to that. But okay, so when you gave birth to this child at 13, did the child live with you at this point?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I wouldn't give him up.
Okay.
So like the foster care they came in because he was premature because I was a very small person.
Mm-hmm.
And he was sick, and he was born April 23rd, and we were there until the end of June.
Okay.
And back then in 78, they didn't have, you could stay with them. You didn't have a baby out in an hour and then you were out.
Right.
You got to stay. So I was at the U of A with him to there.
Like 2 months.
Yeah,
Almost.
and every day they would come and want me to sign the papers.
To release guardianship.
Yeah, and I would say nope. And finally, my mom stepped in. She realized I wasn't going to give up, so she took me back. But then I was then up by 13. I was 14, and then we got married. It's a long time ago. I'm getting old. So somehow I ended up marrying this dude I'd known
This
for a
guy
very
that
short.
they kind of like forced you guys
and
together.
that's how I became Taylor. I became Elizabeth. It was Lisa Taylor when I was 15 in 78.
Right. Okay.
I've been a Taylor longer than I've been a Callingbull.
Why did they want you to marry this guy randomly?
Because I think my mom knew that I would start saying because people are going to ask who's the baby's
so
father.
they wanted like a nice,
They wanted me,
make it make
yes,
sense.
yes.
Oh,
they wanted me. They wanted me out, married, and because you got to remember back then things were a little bit different for women. You got married, you had babies.
Yeah,
you very rarely
no,
worked,
100%.
you stayed home.
Very traditional,
right?
very conservative.
So
did that make, like I would, because you talk very highly of your mother, right?
yes.
But then you tell me these stories about how she kind of like set up this marriage, or she didn't want to believe you in certain things. How did you reconcile both you but also like she's like not allowing these things to happen, but it's not intervening?
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the reasons why she's my mom and I love her to bits is she was the only person that ever fought to keep me, ever in my life. Because like foster care wants to move you from home to home to home to home.
Yeah.
I had been there for, I think I wish they would have taken me, but then again, who knows? My life could have been worse. I could not be here. But anyway, so she fought to keep me. Because when Enoch had money and I had a trust fund.
Okay.
And so when I was 11, I think my biological family, who I'd never seen, and they never looked for me, they never had anything to do with me, decided they were going to take me.
And you think it was financially motivated?
Oh, yes,
Big time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So they were going to move me. That foster care was going to move me back into with one of my uncles, aunts, I don't know.
Right.
And so my mom fought to keep me. And I told them, if you move me, I will run away. And so and that's what I remember about her. And it is a choice. I was very angry at her for many, many years. We got it when I went public with what my dad had done. She's like, Lisa, please, can you just let it go? Can you please?
Why do you think she wanted to run away from that? Like, why didn't she want to accept? Did she not want like that blame? Did she think she was going to be blamed?
Because it was intergenerational from like, here's the thing, and this is something people don't want to admit to. When I say someone's been sexually abused, odds are their family, their parents have been sexually abused, their grandparents. It's intergenerational. It doesn't stop, right? So, so my mom just said to let it go.
She just wanted to move on.
Even though she had lost almost a lot, like my one sister, her youngest child, committed suicide when she was 25, I think. She wasn't very old.
Wow.
And my dad found her at 3 o'clock in the morning, supposedly, hanging from her cable antenna, because back then you just had those tall cables.
That's right. I remember those.
And you had the things
yeah. Wow, we're taking us back today, Liz.
But he found her, and there was no note. And this one I may cry here, because this is really tough for me. I'm working through it with therapy right now. My sister was brave enough, and I think she's one of the biggest reasons why I keep fighting and keep being loud and vocal about all the things we've been through. Just before she killed herself, we were at a dinner, and she was like, at the table, and she said, Lisa, don't you hate when Dad comes into your room at night? And I froze. I got scared. I didn't know what to say. I was like, what? I just got married. My first dinner back home, and I just shrugged my shoulders, and so I live with that. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
But she also gave me motivation to just keep going forward, to try to get all this stuff out that nobody wants to listen, hear, or acknowledge that happens to all these people that you see that are broken, that are homeless, that are addicted, and a lot of it isn't just from abuse. A lot of it's foster care. Foster care is horrible. It's a system that has failed all the children that they've ever taken care of.
And, I find it, it's tough. I work with a lot of youth these days who have been through similar things that you've been through, that have been through similar things that I've been through.
Yes.
And like you said, you hear these stories and you don't know what to say, and you feel kind of helpless, and you wish you could do something. And sometimes but sometimes listening
all,
and sharing stories. That's sort of how I show up. When I go home, sometimes I'm like, God, did I do enough? What could I do? You sort of struggle with that, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up
Thank
in.
you.
There you go, legend Jacob.
I have some somewhere,
No,
but
that's
I never
good.
think about it.
No, that's good. But yeah, I grew up in foster care too, and I had some foster homes that were not so great, but I had a really good experience from when I was 9 to when I was 16.
Good.
But I hear other people's experiences too, and I'm very acutely aware that I was blessed to show up on the doorstep with my garbage bag full of clothes, and it's like, you live here. It's like, you live here now. See you later. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, to hear that, you went through that under the guardianship of someone who's supposed to take care of you is absolutely heartbreaking.
Well, I was trying to get a website going and getting stories out there so that it would become public knowledge, not just here in Canada, but worldwide.
Yeah.
And then I figured out I'm going to have to get out there more. So I've actually taken a year off from this public speaking and doing these things, unless it's really important. I say that, but anybody asks me,
that's
I'm
right.
do it.
You're there. No, that's good.
I'm not going to say no, but I'm gonna write down not the traumas, but like the systemic failure that put us there, because that's what so many people aren't aware of what
100%.
really happens in foster care and what
It's true. And you know what? Even in residential school, I'm like ashamed to admit that I was in college for my second time, and I was doing a course called Canadian Families, and my instructor was like, "Has anyone here heard of residential school?" And I was like, "No, not really." And he told me, and I was shocked. I was like, wait, this happened as early as, like, I was still alive. Like, I was born in 92. Yeah. So the fact that I was alive when this was happening, it seems like something that maybe, in the 1700s or something crazy, something barbaric they would do. But like, I was mind blown that, that stuff could be so in such recent history. It's still ongoing in a lot of places. My nan actually got asked to teach at a residential school when she was young and just becoming a teacher, and it was framed to her like, we are going to help these indigenous people assimilate, assimilate to the Western world. And it was framed to her like, you're almost helping. And she's like, fortunately, I said no. Yeah. Oh. But I mean, I think a lot of people got conned into that. But then there were a lot of people who were more malicious as well.
But see.
And I don't know. I'm just.
A lot of this goes back to I call it the old boys club, of where their standards is everybody's standards, and if you don't fit their norm, they make you, because they have the money, power, political, all of that.
Yeah.
So what I remember about residential school, and I was little, because they wanted to catch us little. That's what they figured out. If they went till we were like school age, our identities were already formed. So what they did was take us in our formative years, so they could literally beat the Indian out of us. That's the bottom line. I can put it kindly, nicely, put a political.
But that's the reality.
But I'm not I'm a very
you don't sugarcoat it.
No, I don't.
Well, that's good, and I don't think there should be sugarcoating.
But because I'm a little old lady and I sound like I'm 11, it comes across nicer apparently.
Right.
I don't know why, but no. So it literally, I went to residential school. I never knew that being Indian was bad, and went back in the 60s. But that's what I was taught, that there was something wrong with me because of the color of my skin. I spent my years growing up in a white world hating myself because I didn't fit the norm. I didn't shave my legs. I didn't have to tan. It's like all these things that are beautiful to me now, but it took me 14 years of therapy to get to the place to get to the point where part of you. I'm comfortable in my skin.
Going back to that movie Meadowlarks, I just watched it recently, so it's like very in my head, but there's a scene where one of the ladies, she is at a craft store and she's speaking to another Indigenous lady, and she tries on earrings and she looks at herself in the mirror and she like gets emotional and she takes them off because she doesn't identify with that part of herself, and it's like it's almost like that shame and stuff, and it was really heartbreaking to watch that, and that just showed me like a little insight, because obviously I have an unmarked identity, right? I am somebody who's a white straight male. Yeah, so
cis white straight male.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody hates me now.
Oh, I don't hate you.
Good. I got Liz behind me.
I like people for what's here and here.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're an innie or an outie, as I call it. I don't care if you're missing limbs. I don't care if you're polka dotted. I don't care about that. What I care about is what's here and here.
Yeah.
And the two of them
That's
come
what's most
together.
important.
Right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm very straightforward. I'm very blunt. My therapist says, Liz, you'll always struggle in mainstream because you're too honest. I don't know how to. I call
Filter
it fluffy
yourself
stuff.
a little bit. Yeah.
I've gotten better. I'm not as blunt. I'm learning to. Now
I think some people just don't have the tools to handle some of these stories, right? So you do have to sort of read your audience sometimes. Like, are they prepared to handle this? But yeah, were you about to say something?
Well, I was just going to ask, you were mentioning, you grew up kind of just disgruntled with who you were, essentially from your environment.
Yes.
You're not the only one. Many people struggled with that,
That's
right?
Yes.
But here you are wearing a ribbon skirt.
Yes, I
and what was that moment in your life? Is there a day, is there a memory that you reconnected with your culture? And I'd love to hear reconnecting with your indigeneity, I guess.
Okay. So I have you met my best support worker. She's my beacon.
She's a sweetheart.
Her name is Shauna Horndorf, and she was first a social worker at Kindred House. Now, Kindred House is a drop-in for working girls, homeless and addicted, and that was me back in the day. She's been with me for 30-some years.
Wow.
She knew me back when I was out there using. She knew when I was selling myself, and she, a little bit at a time. All it took, I say this, all it takes is one person to make for all of us, for us to realize that we matter.
That's right.
And that's what I say to the police, is like, you can't treat us like crap because we're never going to get better. We matter. And if you don't show us that we matter, we're never going to change.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with me. Shauna just, she's like, you're really smart. It's like, yeah, whatever. She's like, well, she's like, you have some really great ideas. And just those little things got me going. Then she introduced me to a drug therapist through ADAC. I don't know what it's called now. And she was an amazing woman. And she's just blonde and fair and a complete opposite of me.
Right.
And she's the one that got me working into the shame I had as for being an Aboriginal woman.
Okay.
And then, between her and Kate from CEASE, Shauna from Kindred, and then Marianne from another program, I had all these women who kind of just looked at me first as a person. That all the things I had to offer in life, then we brought in, and for an Aboriginal woman. And I've never had anyone say that to me before, other than my mother. But she always made it more of a negative thing, because back in the 60s and 70s, it was a negative thing to be Aboriginal, to be Indian. I still remember my dad saying those goddamn Indians, and my mom would go, Les! And she's like, Lisa's sitting right there.
Lisa's right there.
And
Les.
he'd be like, oh, she's not one of them. So I fit in nowhere. I was too white to be Indian and too Indian to be white. That's what I said. But so about 4 years into my therapy, I started thinking, it's okay to be Indian.
And how old were you at this point?
I was in late 40s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 47, and I was 47 when I started healing, 56 when I made my first ribbon skirt.
Wow.
And this is not a story I tell a lot of people. The first skirt I made wasn't a pride. It was more of a to the white world.
Right.
But it brought me a sense of power. It empowered me to wear that ribbon skirt, to say I'm Aboriginal and you can't take that away from me anymore.
That's right.
Nope.
And that's how I got started with it. Then I started talking to the counselors and social workers, saying how so many of us on the street, the assumption that we know our culture is we grew up in foster care, we grew up in white worlds, we know nothing. And unfortunately, a lot of the reservations wouldn't take you back if you went into foster care.
Oh, okay.
That you weren't taught anything. So now we have some elders who have married white men, knowledge keepers who put together some programs, and that sealed it for me. The knowing and having pride in what I knew nothing about. All I knew was what I was told, which was not true. So.
Shauna sounds like she was a big support. Still is a big support.
She's still in my life.
You're blessed.
I am so blessed
in a lot of ways.
It's not just her. There's Kate from CEASE. CEASE was another nonprofit. It was Center to End All Sexual Exploitation.
Okay.
And she's still in my life also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
They seen something in me that I didn't see in myself. And
they tried to get you to see it too.
Yeah, well, it took a few years.
Well, of course. I mean, if you grew up with it being,
I grew up thinking I was a piece of crap.
Yeah, and yeah, that's heartbreaking. You know, it's funny, not funny, but when people say you treat addiction, you don't treat the addiction itself. You treat everything around it, right?
Yep.
And that means connection, loss of family, identity, and then sort of that coping, which is what addiction is a lot of the time.
Well, it's to numb.
It is.
Because like, I've been trying to teach a lot of programs, and some of them are listening, which I'm really proud of, is that you can't put people with trauma, with addiction. I don't like the word addiction because there's such a negative connotation.
There is.
So I say trauma response because that's what it is.
You know what? You're right. Absolutely.
It's a trauma response.
Yeah.
That's where you use what you need to numb all that stuff that has happened to you. And that's there all the time. I think the best way I could put that, and I'm actually thinking of doing it, like, I didn't know it was on the 7th, but for the next one, I'm going to buy a trench coat and put on different pockets, inside out, have it long, and then each one is going to have some weight or something bulky. That's trauma. Now, you try to sleep with that. You try to go to school with that. You try to eat with that. You try to lay down. You try to rest. There's like 100, you've got, and I want to put 100 pockets on it and say that's probably the bare minimum of some of the trauma some of these people that you see on the street that carry around 24/7.
Yeah.
You can't take that coat off. You can't. And in order to just get a little bit of peace, you need something to numb it, so you don't notice it as much. And that's what I think a lot of mainstream, that's what I call people who've never went through trauma, understand. It's not, they're not lazy. They're not, the drugs wasn't a choice. Like, you were there when I said to the police, well, I didn't decide to become a working girl when I was 8. Oh, I'm going to be a working girl.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
No, but that's the assumption, right? Oh, I'm going to be a drug addict.
Well, you see it all the time. It's like, just get a job.
Right?
It's like, you really think that's all this person needs is a 9 to 5, and then everything else in their life is just going to fall in the line. Like, I think that when people give up on somebody, that person ends up giving up on themselves, and they have like a loss of hope. And I'm speaking from personal experience where I've been in a lot of dark places where I didn't want to get out of the bed the next day because my dream reality was better than my current reality, and I could just stay in bed and just hope that one day when I wake up that it's all going to be better.
Did you have trauma responses also? Did you have any types of?
Yeah, so I used to, like the same thing you're saying, like when you take downers and stuff, it slows everything down and it makes you feel good.
Yep.
That's the reality of it. Like when you feel so bad and you feel so upset and someone says, here, I have something that's going to make you forget about all that and it's going to make you feel good, and you haven't felt good in a long time. I don't think that there's very little people out there that'd be like, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Like most people are saying, yeah, give me that because right now I cannot cope with what's going on.
A lot of predators don't have trauma, don't have those atypical
some
sociopaths.
So I dealt with that, for a long time. When you don't even know the answer, the next step, you're like, I'm not even sure what to do. You just feel stuck, and then you get, and it's it's this like you're taking something to make you feel better, but in the long term, it makes you feel worse.
Right.
And then you just keep digging that hole and digging that hole.
I call it the hamster wheel.
Yeah,
because
no, it is.
You can run as fast as you want to get away from it,
But you
you're
get
still
nowhere.
going around in that
You're still in the same place and you're exhausted.
Right? Exactly. I call it a hamster wheel. And I jumped from hamster wheel to hamster wheel to hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Because at least it was a different change of scenery every now and then.
Well, this is it.
Right?
Yeah, the next
But
one. Get off on the
I know
next
I
stop.
laugh about it, but I have it's my coping mechanism, and I think, and I want to explain that to people so they understand. I don't think it's funny, but when there's so much pain, it's easier for me to laugh because it's a chemical thing in your body. I was taught that by my therapist. So instead of crying or getting caught in it, I shrug it off and therefore I laugh.
Yeah.
Because it's easier that way for
Easier
me
to deal. And
Yes.
yeah, no, I get that.
Yes.
I want to talk about how you got introduced into sex work. Like, what age were you, and what was your first introduction into that lifestyle? Because that's a very tough lifestyle based on what my superficial knowledge of it. But like, how did you get introduced to it? What was that lifestyle like for you?
Okay, so I had lived the life that I thought that society had wanted me to live. I got married. I went to school. I got my hotel restaurant management. I worked for 555.
Okay.
My ex-husband was abusive, like physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
Was this the guy when you were like 15?
Yeah, the
him.
sociopath is what I call him.
Right.
Anyway, he hit my child, and that's when I lost it on him, and that's when I tried to leave, and I ended up finally being able I ran from, we were living in Wainwright, Alberta at the time, and then I ran from Wainwright to Edmonton, from Edmonton to Calgary, because Calgary was far enough away where he couldn't follow me and maintain a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So, and then I found out that I could divorce him because we had separate tax returns for a year. So I didn't have, it was a no contest divorce.
Okay.
But he also, he got custody of my children before my son died. This is something this is a period that you'll find me all over the place, because my son, I always say if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. So the son that I kept from the sexual abuse of my foster father died when he was 12.
How did he pass away?
This is why you understand when I say if I didn't have bad luck. He had a virus called Waterhouse-Friedrichsen syndrome that kills 1 in every 750,000 people approximately every 5 years. And he was dead in under 15 hours. And what it is, it's in the air. Majority of the human race is immune to it. My son wasn't. And it's something in the air. He breathed in, and it's the way the doctor explained it to me is it damages the adrenal glands to the point where they just stop working. And he's like, your body's like a car. Like the adrenal glands are your gas, and if you don't have gas, nothing works. And without adrenal glands, your body doesn't work. So that
must have been
that's where I started. That's originally that broke me.
I can't even imagine.
So I never drank, never did anything before that.
Right.
And then I discovered alcohol when he passed. And so at first I had the money, I was able to maintain jobs, but when he died, I had built a wall inside me to keep all the trauma away. Plus, I also have mental health. This is something I don't bring up a lot of. I didn't at the police station because I didn't feel safe enough there to tell them, because some of them were okay, some of them were kind of iffy, right?
Of course.
And I didn't want to say anything, so like the more I share, the more I feel that they're listening. I have a trauma response of mental health. I have what they call dissociative identity disorder. And what that is, I've separated different parts of me to push that pain, to put that anger, to put because like, if I had, put it to you this way, if I hadn't had that ability, I wouldn't be here. I am the only survivor of my biological family because I had that ability.
Just separate yourself
to separate
from
those
events.
parts so I could maintain living. Right. So that's how I started working. So after he died, I became and then I drank to the point where I couldn't get a job anymore. The alcohol took over my life. So I ended up in a shelter. And how I got working was I was there with my daughter, and I always swore my daughter would never see that type of life, the inner city, the alcohol, the poverty. But I couldn't get a job.
So you were in the shelter with your daughter?
Yes.
And how old was your daughter at the time?
At the time, she was 17.
She was 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't. She ran away from her dad, and so she came with me. And I'm trying to give her a better life, and here we are in the shelter.
In the shelter.
And then she turned 18, and then she started to party. It's like, nope, that's it, done. We are not staying here. But I couldn't get a job, and nothing I did. I tried to quit drinking, but then I'd get angry, and then anger also produces a lot of negative things. So then I'd go back drinking, and I was there. I think we were there for 3 months, and she was not coming back to the shelter. I was getting scared.
Yeah.
So my roommate at the time, because you had rooms with 1 or 2 women, there was dorm rooms, and then we wouldn't say single, but it's double occupancy rooms in the shelter. My roommate was a working girl.
Okay.
And I was in tears because I hadn't been able to find my daughter. I was terrified, and haven't thought about this in a while. So she's like, you have the boobs, you have the looks. She's like, yeah. She's like, come with me.
You could do this.
You can do this. So I went, and it's funny. I went out there. I swore I'd never be a man's sexual object again. But then what changed for me on that view was the power I got from setting the prices, dictating. I never had that
You're
in my life.
a lot of control.
Yeah, I made good money. So my first night out, and you had to be back into the shelter by 10. I think it was 10 or 9. It was a ridiculous time.
9 o'clock?
Yeah, it was a ridiculous time back then.
Yeah.
It
still is, I feel like.
Well, it's 11 now. It used to be it used to be worse than that. So we'd have a 4-hour window to work.
Wow. And
within a month, I had enough saved, because I was still drinking. I wasn't doing drugs then. I had enough to get us a townhouse on the south side.
Oh, wow.
And then to maintain it, I had to keep working.
You got kind of stuck in that lifestyle. Did
you
find
hamster wheel?
There you go. That's the hamster wheel. You got stuck in that hamster wheel. You're in the shelter hamster wheel. Then you got in that.
But at least my daughter was able to get a job working at a casino.
A little more stability.
We had we ended up having to take in a couple roommates because at that time, I don't think she knew or wanted to know what Mom was doing for money.
How you were making the money, yeah.
But it was hard.
Did you have to use alcohol as a way to work?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I dated some dancers in the past, right? And one thing that I noticed is that they all kind of use substances to do what they had to do and get them more comfortable. And then when I talked to them when they were sober, they said, I really hate this lifestyle. But then it became something that they were good at, you know?
It's good money.
And it was good money, and it's hard to kind of... And then you're also being celebrated, right? And
for the way you look.
For the way you look, and yep. So
yeah.
All these things that somebody might not have had growing up, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got some money. Yeah. People are into me. I got a lot of solutions to my problems. Like you could see how this life is kind of attractive to somebody.
Well, I grew up with money. So for me, it was that I made a lot of money. Like I could... there's a lot of girls that go, what do you do? Because they'd be like, if I didn't have a date in 15 minutes, I was upset.
Wow.
Right? Because I had a little bit of a confidence about myself that a lot of these women on the street don't have, and that comes across. I did not know that, and it took therapy to figure this out. But so I always made good money, and I wouldn't. I always told the police I only made 100, 200 a day because I didn't want them to know.
Right.
So, like, I was smart enough to know you don't tell them anything.
You don't let them know everything. Yeah.
How much
So-
did you make in a day?
When I was
Good day.
Well,
Good day.
when I was anywhere from 8 to 1,000 a day,
Really?
really.
8 to 1,000 a day. Wow.
Like on it. Okay, so my therapist and I, we figured this out for the 20 years I worked out there, and so we only went to 300 a day. I made almost $3 million, which literally I drank away or smoked away. Isn't that something?
When you put it in perspective like
Right?
that, it's,
Right?
it's sort of
Like I was a millionaire 3 times over on the street, but never kept a dime.
And
That's
I
how
feel
much-
like that's, sorry for cutting you off, but I feel like that's common for a lot of
Yes.
women, but it's, once you're in that life, it's hard to get out, right?
Well, here the only reason, this is one story I did share with the police. One of the reasons why I am where I am now is when I first started working, and I was really, I actually was not, I was not upset about it at the beginning because I was just drinking. When I started doing the drugs, that's when the despair hit hard. But when I first started working, this stuck with me, and it still sticks with me. There was an old Aboriginal woman out there wearing rubber boots and a winter coat in the middle of summer trying to make money. She was like mid-50s, and she was making like $5 here, $10 there, and I'll give her money or buy her beer. But that stuck with me. I swore I'd never be.
You didn't. You saw. Did you? I don't want to put words. Did you see like that could be me if I keep up this?
That's what it stuck with me.
Wow. And that kind of did that scare you a little
oh,
bit?
when I hit,
You were
I
like-
swore by the time I would be 45, I'd be done.
You had a plan.
45 hit, 46 hit, 47 hit, and I'm thinking, and I'm still making money. Maybe not as much as I was before, but I was still making money. So, but then what changed for me was I asked for my usual price, which was so 100 for just some people don't want to hear, but it
It's
was like
reality.
100 for a blowjob, and then and everything else added up. But the basic price was 100. When I hit 47, I found that it was going down to about 60, and then. And that was, you know what, that upset me. It really upset me, realizing, okay, yes, I'm getting old. And I didn't want to be that old Aboriginal woman wearing the rubber boots from the winter coat going for $5. And I swore I'd never do that.
Wow.
And that stuck with me.
Did you ever, and I understand this is a high-risk lifestyle,
Yes.
but did you feel moderately safe when you were doing this, or were you worried every time you were meeting a new
No,
man?
that's where drugs and alcohol came in. You just, you know
Kinda
the
block
risk.
that out.
You know the risk, and it just, it's a choice you make. But if you go in scared, you don't make money. You have to have that false bravado. That, hey girl,
Yeah, I got this. I got this.
So,
Yeah.
And that you don't get that with that type of job, being sober.
And, I forgive my ignorance if I ask this, but did you find that, maybe not like lifelong lasting relationships, but did you find that like some gentleman that maybe came to see you multiple times, like you kind of just built like at the end of the day, it was a business relationship, but, I guess
I had
seeing
regulars.
regular clientele
Yes.
probably added a level of security, knowing
Yes.
that like this gentleman that you've seen countless times.
I wish the police would answer these so they would understand why why we do what we do, and we do have a little bit of safety, feeling like we're wanted, that we were needed. I had probably about 8 regulars, which is more than the norm. Most only have maybe 2 or 3, but you can count on them. And I still remember when I'd be so desperate. Because I wouldn't go out when it was minus 30. I did some years, but when it's minus 30, I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, you got a blanket, you're staying indoors.
Yeah, we're staying inside.
Because I remember, I had been using, this is when I got into drug use, and it was warm. Here's the thing about drug use. You think it's been an hour and it's been a day, 2 hours, 3 hours, and a day is a week later.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting stuck out there. I always carried a backpack with cleaning so I could stay hygienically clean. And but it got cold, and here I am in this little tiny shirt, and these little tiny shorts, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it got, because like you didn't make money if you're all covered up.
Right.
And I remember one girl, we double up on the nylons. The nylons would keep us warm. And if you could put them on your arms too, we learned how to keep warm
Yeah,
and
little
still
tips
look
and
naked.
tricks and yeah.
But I ended up breaking a window so I could go to jail.
Wow.
At that
Just
time.
to
Just to get warm.
Just to get warm.
Because I didn't have I had been using and I lost so many. I don't know how many times I lost my ID. I just gave up trying to replace it. I was one of the few that had a cell phone back when it was 35 cents a minute.
Wow.
I lost that, so I had nothing. I don't know because when you get overtired and you're still using your brain, just
Right.
and I don't remember where I left my stuff.
do you because obviously being in the industry and now you're out of it, do you still kind of keep your finger on the pulse of the industry? Are you like kind of keeping in touch with women that might be on the street?
Okay, so when they changed the laws to where we used to get prosecuted, we used to be arrested. Now it's the other way around, where the dates get the Johns. They are the ones that get prosecuted and arrested. So it changed the whole industry, everything. Almost everybody now is at home and does the chat lines.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few that still, we call them the back alleys, that do back alleys, but it's dangerous because you're in a back alley.
Yeah, you're not meeting Prince Charming in the back alley.
No. But
No.
almost everybody I knew back when I was working is gone.
Wow.
But yes, I did keep in touch with them. I still worked with some nonprofits to show these women that I am not ashamed of what I did. I did what I had to survive, and if mainstream doesn't understand that, that's their issue, not mine.
Yours, yeah.
So I spend a lot of time with them. I'm still at Kindred. I do. Once a month I get together with the social workers and working girls, addicted girls, and we sit around. It's like I call it a hen party. You have to be old to understand that one.
Yeah, I didn't catch that reference.
Yeah. Hey, back when I was a girl,
Yeah.
my dad and like all the men would say, "Oh, the women are going off to their hen parties."
Okay. So you're having the hen parties now.
Yeah, but what we do is show them that they matter, they value. We show them little crafts. We have a dinner meal together.
That's
and
nice.
and I go to show them that it is a possibility. You can come from the lowest of the low in mainstream eyes and have a good safe life. Safety is key.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't felt safe with the people I worked with.
In your perspective, working earlier when technology kind of hasn't advanced, sex work has become incredibly commercialized to the point where, people can go on, different sites. There's, different venues where it's licensed now. Do you find it safer? Do you find the commercialization of sex work to be a negative? How can we, because it's, we were talking about this before you showed up. It's similar to drug use. You can turn a blind eye and say they're just never going to use, or you can open a safe consumption site. How does sex work become safe?
I actually was talking to this. I ran into, it's funny you bring this up. I ran into one of my old regulars, one of my regulars that at a bottle depot of all things, and he's like, "Liz?" It's like, oh my God. That's one of the biggest things I hate. Is I always worry about running into people that paid me to do things with them. But it's not as bad as I thought it was. But anyway, we were talking about it's kind of like the commercialization of sex work. And I definitely think if we had like a chicken ranch, like someplace where it's but then again, then it comes into taxes, it comes into all this stuff, and the drug use, they don't mix, right? So I don't have an answer.
Exist? I know.
I don't have an answer for that because I know they hide a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like the women that work in these places, as I did work as an escort, And they said, you can't use drugs, you can't drink. It's like, yeah, nope.
Yeah.
But they never, you just have to answer no. But it's still there.
Yeah.
No, of course. It
And
doesn't go
I
away.
found, and then I found that I wasn't making as much money, and that's why I went back to the street. I also worked in massage parlors. I didn't make as much. I made money, but you pay out so much to the people that run it,
Yeah.
to the bodyguards, to people who drive you. So, like, if I made $300, I'd go home with 80.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, screw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of want a safe place, like the safe consumption sites for the women, but where it's for them and not for the people running it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you would go about that.
It's just always interesting to look at how technology has pushed, because
Yeah.
I mean, like we're talking about open air consumption sites. You can also find websites where you can buy any drug under the planet, and it's the same thing with sex work. Before you'd have to go on the street, and it was
Yeah.
kind of an effort, but now you can literally go on a website and you have hundreds, if not thousands, of women at your fingertips, right? And it's-
Well, there's also sites now where you don't actually have to touch a man, and you get. You didn't know about those? there's actually sites. They're used across in Europe, and they're here. They've caught them in here in Canada, and they've got. So you pull up the screen. I can't remember what its name. My friend told me about it. I'm like, no way. So I went and looked at it. So you got maybe 50 women, like little tiny boxes on a screen. And you put in, like, you punch in tickets for the ones you like, and they get so much per ticket, and that's how they make their money. But it's like a lot of solo acts.
Oh, yeah.
okay,
The
right.
webcam work, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's what's taking over now.
Yeah.
And I
No,
mean, I
I've seen
guess
that.
that's safer, right? And, obviously.
It is safer.
OnlyFans, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I went to a sexual exploitation, training recently. And, one thing that they said was like, okay, if somebody said to you, we'll give you $50,000 if you could just send me one picture or send me one video. How many people in this room kind of would be tempted or would be like, yeah, maybe I'll do that? And a lot of young kids, especially, that are being exploited or a lot of young people that are getting these opportunities to kind of ease of access on their phone, on these websites.
Yeah.
They're getting these older people to send them all sorts of money. It's kind of like a hard thing to say no to. It's a solution to a lot of people's problems. A lot of stuff that is echoing a lot of stuff that you're talking about.
But it's also like if you come from a background like mine, being Aboriginal, being sexually abused, being told that I was nothing. That as the sex trade gave me some validation at least I wanted for something.
Yeah.
And a lot of us unfortunately have that because you don't feel worthy, and the sex trade gave me a sense of self. It might not have been a healthy sense of self, but it gave me it was a start to get me where I am here, actually.
where you
right?
are.
It gave me a sense of self. It gave me that I mattered. Somehow I mattered.
That's
Even if
right.
it was for sex, I still mattered.
That's right.
And that's the big thing I say all the time. Not to be kind to be kind, but just make these people know they matter in the world. They matter.
Yeah.
Not to me, not to the world, but they matter. And that's all that's the message I send out all the time, even to the police. I say that the only way you're going to change it is that for them to know that they matter in this world.
You're a millionaire 3 times over.
Yep.
And you got the validation through sex work.
Yep.
How did you tell yourself that you can matter outside of sex work and get out of it?
It was the workers in the industry, like Kindred House, like Cease. I like a challenge because that's the only way I can deal with a lot of stuff that had happened to me. So they would challenge me to try new things. I'd try this, just try it. And they're the ones that got me to where, maybe I can do this. And it was just such small things at first. The biggest one that got me where I am today was I was in it's not a halfway house, but I was waiting for housing, so I had to stay in this program through a nonprofit called E4C. So the women's house there was 2 houses. One was for the women to live in. The one next to it was a drop-in center. It was called Crossroads, which was another program for working, addicted, homeless women. So this was the biggest thing where I felt this is what got me where I am. This is what started it, and it's not something I share a lot with. Um, I the gentleman that started the program, that worked the program, his name was Hans, and he was one of the ones felt that I could trust. He was there for me all the time, and plus he lived a world because he was a trans person, so that he understood the biases people have. Hired these two, we called them the Barbie girls, the Barbie dolls. He had hired these two young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, young little girls who were going to change the world.
Full of piss and vinegar,
Oh, yeah.
ready to go.
They were adorable. So I was at the halfway house. I don't know what else to call it. But so one of them comes running over and she's like, Liz, I need your help. I never really heard that before. I need your help. Like I did on the street, and that's probably why I stayed so long. I need your help. And because it made me feel good. So I'm like, what? And she's like, I have to make something for the drop-in center, and I don't know how to cook. So I went, and I laughed. So I went with her, and I planned a meal. And then she was working the supper the next day. She said, can you come help me? I said, of course. So, and that's how I started, was cooking for the women. Because it was something that I was good at. It's something that made me feel good. And people paid attention and went, good for you.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where I started that sense of self to other than selling myself.
Right. So there's a healthier sense of self that you sort of got the
Better set
same
of
sort of
validations,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
I loved what I did. I volunteered there for almost 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just cooking.
Well, I
and
cooked,
supporting.
cooked,
like,
supported. I also started a cooking program for the ladies if they wanted to come and help.
Nice.
Because you'd be amazed on how many we say we know what we're doing, but we don't, because we've always been about surviving. So a lot of them didn't know how to cook.
Yeah.
Like they knew how to open a can,
Right.
but to actually cook was a different story. So I'd get them helping me to cook.
I actually talked to a lot of youth, and I asked them, I'm like, what do you think is something that, a lot of youth are lacking when they transition out of care? Because what happens, especially this day and age, a lot of youth are in group homes or in these transitional things, and everything is kind of like done for them. And then they're like, oh, you're 17, see you later. And they're like, I don't even know how to, I barely know exactly how to do anything. So the cooking is a huge life skill that I think a lot of people are missing.
A lot of them didn't know how. So that's what, with the 10 party, we're doing that too, is giving them a better sense of self by teaching them crafts. And at first, the ladies there, the social workers, went and bought all these fancy things. I said, you got to remember who you're doing this for. Most of these women are on welfare, are still working on the streets. So you have to get stuff from the dollar store, stuff that they can afford.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want to help, but they don't think of things like that, right?
Right.
Because, yes, it's nice to do this, but what are we going to do when we're on our own?
That's
It's important to teach them how to,
right?
It's budgeting as well, right? Because you can make them a $80 steak, but if it was delicious, but if they can't afford an $80 steak, I think that's why a lot of these programs and these services make, soup and bannock, because soup at the end of the day is just layering. It's all one pot, and you can find ingredients for cheap. Bannock is pretty cheap to make, and it can feed a bunch of people, and it can feed you for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're known as the bannock lady, hey?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you go give out bannock to everybody.
I haven't done it for a while now because, one, oil is expensive.
Yes, it really is.
And I'm on ACE, and my rent, 70% of my rent, my ACE check goes to rent now.
Isn't that wild?
It went from 900 to 1,000 to 1,250, and going up to 1,350 in a month.
Oh my God.
So, and I only get 1,900 from ACE.
That's wild. Do you sell your crafts or anything like that?
I can't say.
Oh, you can't say? I was going to say, because you can, promote whatever.
Actually, what I do is I don't actually. I give away a lot of stuff to women. I make skirts for women that are in rehabs, especially women coming from the street, to show them that, you know what, don't, I know it's hard because if you're not Aboriginal, I don't think people understand how it eats at you. It takes a bit of your soul every day when you go out and you get looked at like you're, I call it the sour lemon look. The, you know, like, ew, you know, or you get followed around in the store all the time because of the color of your skin. So these are things that I was lucky enough to have a mom who taught me, who gave me awareness of all these things and not to take it too hard. But eventually I did, because when you live with it day in, day out, and it happens all the time, it makes you angry. And then you get angry, and then they feel justified. And see?
Yeah.
And then you start drinking because you just can't cope with it anymore. And they, see?
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. So how did you get out of the sex work? Like, when was, because we touched on it a little bit, I guess, was it when you got connected with, like, the Kindred House?
No, I'd always been connected with Kindred House.
Oh, okay.
But when I got out of it was because when I hit 47 and I went from 100 base being my basic price, I went down to 60. And then I knew once it starts going down, it just keeps going down.
And then you had that vision
and
of
I had
that rubber boots
that old Aboriginal
woman.
woman in the
And you're like, that's not going to be me.
No.
No.
And it was tough. I'm telling you, it was. You don't know how many times when I was in that halfway house waiting to get housed, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the point? I was like, that was the mentality I had, but that came from everything that I had went through that put me there in the first place, right? Like, why bother? That's the mentality most of us have.
100%.
Like, what's the point?
What's the point?
Right?
A little nihilism almost.
Right?
Like, yeah.
Well, you can try. You try once or twice, and then you get bent. And I know this is crude, but it's the only vision I can get of people understanding how hard it is. Like, you try and you try and try, and then you get bent over and done dry type thing.
Yeah.
And you have no say. So you get to a point where you just say, why bother? And I was so, you know how they always say you have to hit rock bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Well, rock bottom and they say, well, everybody has a different rock bottom. That is not true. We can wrap it up prettily in different words, but it all comes down to, what are you more afraid of, change or dying? That's the bottom line for most of us, any of us. What are you more afraid of, change or dying? For me, I didn't want to die. So that left me with what?
Change, yeah. I always, I think for a long time, I had this, like, victim mentality of, like, well, look what happened to me. I was like, it's like when you break a plate and it's shattered on the floor. Anytime somebody came over, I'd be like, this is what happened to me. And instead of, like, trying to pick up the pieces and glue them back together and take responsibility and, like, okay, it's not my fault that the plate dropped, but it's my responsibility to do something about it. It took me a long time. And then, like you said, you get hopeless, like, what's the point of this? And it just keeps getting harder and harder.
Right.
And it's just, I think when you're in that sort of lifestyle and this little dark, you see darkness all around you. It's really hard to see that light, and people kind of shun you by, and opportunities aren't just knocking at your door, and it's really difficult, I think, to get out of that.
If you think about it too, you come from intergenerational trauma, poverty, drugs, gangs, alcoholism, all of it. That we're not taught anything else. It's environmental, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when you say oh my God, you become a victim, because that's all you've ever known. Right?
Yeah, and I think that, like,
and that's hard to change.
It is hard to change. And just going back to that intergenerational thing, like, my mother too, she had a very bad substance problem, and it ended up taking her life. But some of her coping mechanisms, like sleeping all the time until it got better, I found myself doing these things as well. And my dad, in and out of jail all the time, some of his anger, I felt myself doing that too, right? The way people are going to listen to me is if I'm louder and I'm stronger and I'm in their face, they're going to bow down to me in fear.
Yeah.
And I found myself, like, repeating these cycles and these behaviors. And you don't just wake up one day and become like that, like you said.
No,
it's years and years of practice behaviors.
Yep.
And
well, I started my healing journey getting off the street when I was 47 when I started therapy. That's why 47 sticks in my head.
47.
But so I'm 62 now, and I'm still in therapy
That's good.
because there's so much. I just discovered recently why I've had issues moving forward, and I didn't know this until I had to work through it and be honest with myself because I didn't want to admit it. I had a lot of self-loathing for some of the choices I made to survive, but that's the key. I felt like I had no choices to do what I did to live another day. But that's a hard one to wrap your mind around.
It
right?
is. I think when I talk to people, and because sometimes when you think of your own life, this is how I think. I see the whole life, right? I see everything that I've been through and everything that I've done. And even though I might be in a good place now, sometimes I still feel like that version of myself that I try to hide. And some people are like, bro, I'll never see that in you. Like, you're such a good speaker. You're this, you're that. But I'm still thinking about Brandon when he was young. Brandon was here, and some of those decisions I made that I'm not very proud of. So you still kind of hold on to that. It might be less. Like you're talking about the trench coat with the 100 pockets. 50 of them might be emptied.
But they're still
They're still there.
And that coat will always be
exactly.
there, right?
So I think that people don't truly understand that even though you're in a good place now, you're still carrying around some of this stuff. And
see, that's good. I have to use that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah,
because
no, you should.
that's the best way to put it. Even though you have come so far and I've come so far, we still have that coat.
You
Might
still
have that
have it.
one little stone
you still got
in there.
you got a little stone in the back here, and you keep stepping on it here and there.
Sitting on it, and it's like
Sitting on it, exactly, but it
Right?
still exists. And
But
you
it's
get people
there.
to help you put it on and take it off sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's still
It's
there.
still there, and that's okay. And
Well,
that's,
exactly.
Yeah, so, but I think the hardest thing for me to come to terms and grips with was that I was okay. That was every therapist, every support person I would say, it's okay. You're okay. It's like, how can you say that?
Yeah.
I had some anger issues. That was
I
my
bet.
big thing.
You had every right to be angry by the
but-
sounds of it.
But it was not a very healthy anger. Like I would hold it in, and then I'd explode, and then I'd do something that would land me up in jail, and then I didn't want to be in jail because I could never sleep because so much of my trauma came at night. So
That's usually.
Yeah,
I
so
still to this day have
it's
trouble sleeping as well.
I am now 62, and I can now sleep 5 hours in a row. And
Okay.
that's my biggest.
That's
I'm
good.
so proud of that.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Man, I'm lucky to get 4 hours most nights.
Yeah.
I
See,
swear.
but I can do 5. I never used to be able to do that. Like I'd sleep an hour, wake up, check everything, go back to sleep, do it over and over and over again.
Sleeping with one eye open, essentially. Yeah.
Basically what it was. And you never reach a REM sleep. So,
Yeah.
right? You never got. So when that also plays on how you feel about yourself, the negativity.
Sleep is one of the most important things.
I didn't know that.
I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And
So, but I'm here to tell my stories and to show people both sides that if we both take one step forward to each other and just listen, we might change the way things are.
100%. And when
Right?
other people who have had a similar story as yours hear, just even hear that somebody else kind of went through this as well, and now they're working on themselves and they're able to be in a place where some days are okay, that's sometimes enough to kind of keep moving forward.
I had the people that, like, the lifestyle I came from, the trauma responses, the poverty, the intergenerational trauma, I actually find that they're more willing to listen than mainstream. And that is the God's honest truth. Prime example, the podcast I did with the city, and it was just too raw and too real for them to want to put it out there and be a part of that. How is anything going to change if we don't take
We're
responsibility and
censoring
acknowledge
reality.
of why so many people are homeless? So that's when you ask me to do this, it's like absolutely.
Yeah, no.
Like to have someone that lives basically a bridge between two worlds is what I call it. We come from here, we cross that bridge to here, but we need to keep that bridge open for both sides.
For other people to walk.
Yeah, on
Walk
both,
on.
so that we can hopefully, because it's getting so bad out there now.
It's tough. And it's crazy because I see, when you say, some of these things happened when you were 13, I work with 13-year-olds and they're kids.
Oh, yeah.
I think about when I was like 9 and I was running around doing certain things, and I
was
meet
having
9
sex
years
with my
old.
father when I was 9.
Right. See, this is what I'm saying, right?
Right.
You see these kids and you're like, wow, it kind of puts it in perspective of like what you went through and what I went through. It's like, I was this young, I was so innocent, and that was kind of stolen in a lot of ways.
But I took a lot, like you said, I took a lot of responsibility for this stuff in my life. And it was my help, the help from my support people, my therapist, who said, Liz, you were 10 years old.
Yeah.
It's like, and? But because like, to me, age was, I never was a child.
Well, you had to grow up real quick.
Oh, yes.
Real quick.
So
you didn't have time to
the age
play.
thing didn't, it never really factored
Registered,
in my life.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's like, so I was 10, big. But it's come to now where I understand now I was a child.
Absolutely.
But it still bothers me.
Of course. Of course.
And it may for a while, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, no, I can tell.
But I share a lot of the struggles I go through emotionally, mentally, spiritually, so that people can understand it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start, it takes up pounds and pounds of pain and sorrow
Absolutely.
away.
Yeah, you have to share your story. Let other people help
Yes.
you carry that load, I
Yeah.
think.
So that's where I'm lucky. I have some very formative women in my life that, and you're the first man I've actually let into my life.
Yeah?
To
Me?
help. Yes.
Wow.
Like, because like you said, we both seen it each other when we were
Yeah,
at the
we were
place.
sitting down eating sandwiches, and I'm like, so who are you exactly? And then we just start connecting.
Yeah.
Before I know it, I'm like, I like you. I like this
But
woman.
you said
We're
something. It was nice to hear me speak about everything that you felt.
Yes,
Right?
exactly.
And be able to put it in those words.
Yeah, because it
That's
is
my gift.
hard. It is hard
Yeah.
to articulate some things that you went through. And still, like we're saying this now, we're talking for probably like an hour or something. It still like doesn't really, it barely cracks the surface of what happened and what the feelings are. And,
Right?
you know, it's just a starting point for exploration
Right.
into some of these other things.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like we're cut from the same cloth in a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of ways.
absolutely. But to see the power and strength and the sense of self to say, even though I don't think there's parts of you that say I don't think I'm worth it, but then there's that little part that you've saved that says I am worth it.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna do it.
100%. Even I get asked to do things, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, you want me to do it? And like, yeah, you got. And they sort of convince me that I am able to do certain things,
then
and because confidence isn't something you have; it's something you create,
Yeah.
right? You have to believe in yourself. You have to have that sense of
But that little child in us wants
Exactly.
so much to be heard.
and reclaim some of that identity and some of
Yep.
that power
Yep.
that was lost
Yeah.
and that control that we didn't
Yeah.
have. And yeah, no, I think that's beautiful.
I love that you asked me about reclaiming my indigenous part, because a lot of people don't ask that, and I'm really grateful that you did, because so much of why so many homeless are Aboriginal is for that reason.
Because they're not in touch with their culture.
Well, there's a lot of shame in being Aboriginal.
A lot of Indigenous folk that I've talked to in my, I was a journalist prior to my last job.
Okay.
I worked at an Indigenous station and spoke to a lot of folks that maybe struggled with addiction, but have since kind of, changed their perspective on life and, have a similar story to you. And the common theme that I've seen is a lot of folks who grew up in the 60s scoop or residential schools didn't have their identity. And then, everyone would say, I went to a powwow for the first time, or I did a sweat. And that was like just the one thing that was enough for them to say, all right, this is the traditional based healing I need, because I'm Indigenous too. I'm Ojibwe. So Indigenous folk,
I was adopted by Ojibwe.
Yeah. Indigenous people, we heal differently.
Yeah.
We don't succumb to Western medicines. We have traditional medicines.
Yes.
We have traditional ways of healing.
Right.
And you can try to heal through Western practices and it just won't work. But the one sweat that they take is enough for them to say, you know what, this is what I needed.
I haven't went to a sweat in a while because I have severe anxiety from a lot of things that have happened to me in my life. Like, okay, this is a problem majority of women have, especially Aboriginal women, and if you're good looking, it's even worse. I'm 62, and I was out with my adopted grandson, the one from foster care. Mm-hmm. We were taking his bottles in so he could get some money, and we were sitting on the grass by my place, and this guy walked in a minivan, drives by, then drives by, and then drives by. and then gets mad at me because I wouldn't get in the vehicle.
Jeez.
But that happens a lot.
That's wild.
So that's why I don't. For me to, I have I don't have panic attacks anymore, but I still have great anxiety to go with groups of people I don't know. So when I was out east, I got lucky and got adopted by an Ojibwe family, and I went to a lot of things out there, but it didn't change the way I felt about myself, and I found that really interesting. It was not I wasn't, because of the deep shame I had about myself. I guess nope, not doing this. Nope, I'm okay. Nope. And the only reason I went to a sweat was I had a choice: go into rehab, and I went to an Aboriginal rehab. That's one thing they do have out there, which is awesome. Or stay in jail. And so it wasn't enough of a reason to change. I just went to it so I could get out of jail.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, you're voluntold to go there. So.
Yeah, so it wasn't enough. And everything they showed me just went,
That's right.
right? So it wasn't until I reclaimed myself as an Aboriginal person. But I'm still pretty white, and I'm okay with that. And that's why I go by both names, by Callingbull Taylor, because I am literally both. I honor both mothers. One's
walking in two
Aboriginal,
worlds,
one
like you
was,
say.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. And I'm trying to teach people who come from my type of background, it's okay. You can be both. You don't have to be one or the other.
You know, it's wild you say that. So I'm not Indigenous, but I can resonate with that, because I think for the longest time, I always said I was a lone wolf in a lot of ways.
Right.
And that, as you grow older, my identity, I was like, I don't belong with this foster family, but I don't feel like I belong with these parents. I was trying to be somebody who went to school, but I also like to put my hat backwards and sell drugs and do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who am I? And my therapist said to me, she's like, Brandon, the beautiful thing about you is you're all those people. You're like a person in the middle of a web, and you're connected to everything. You don't have to be one or the other.
Right.
You could be all, and that's beautiful, because a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
And I think that was really a shift for me in terms of like, oh, you're right. I don't have to choose one side or the other. I can be both, and that's still okay.
Right. I do some stuff with the Aboriginal culture I love and absolutely agree with. Some of it kind of iffy. Like for prime example, you can't be using to smudge and stuff. That's when you need it the most. Like really, that really bothers me.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
Like that makes no sense to me. When you need smudging helped me every day to wake up. I'm in a brand new way, brand new life, brand
Ground
new me.
yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and it was affirmation for me every day, that smudge, and it was hugely important to me. Yeah. And then I would want to smudge with some of the people I still worked with when I was at the kitchen at the Crossroads, and they're like, we can't. It's like, why not?
I think it's important. I think everyone has a perspective on how things should be done, but deep down, if you believe it helped you ground yourself, then it shouldn't matter if someone uses or not.
That's what I said. Thank you.
And I don't think there's, a lot of people might believe, and I don't want this to come across bad, but they might believe there's set rules, right? And a lot of Indigenous folk, still to this day aren't very welcoming to non-Indigenous people coming to powwows, for example. But it's like,
see, I don't understand that either.
Let everyone see it. Being Indigenous is a beautiful thing. This is our land.
Right.
This is how we do things. Being able to smudge, it doesn't matter if you're using. What if? No, I agree.
Like, because I know. So what I do now is like, well, you don't have to hold it, but I'll smudge you.
Exactly.
Right?
And to be fair, I do think some of the rules in place, like when you're at a round dance, it should be a sober round dance, right?
Yes.
And when you're at a powwow, it should be sober. You shouldn't be sneaking Mickeys in, getting drunk and starting things. But many people incorporate smudging as a way of healing, and many people that need healing are struggling with substance. So why can't that be hand in hand,
just
right?
same with the ribbon skirts. Like they you have to be sober, but you can't get sober if you're not proud of who you are, where you come from. So I make a lot of skirts, and people say, "Oh, you should charge money." No, like I will if they have the money to give me money to replace the fabric and ribbon, then so that's like $30-40.
Sure.
And then I'll take that, and then I'll just keep doing it forward. And I and people get mad at me for this, and I'm okay with it, because to give that sense of pride to that woman who has been treated nothing worse than anything in her life, who has no faith and belief and being proud of who she is, that skirt can change one little thing about the way she views herself.
Absolutely. And like you said, all it takes that one person to show you that you matter,
That
and that
you
you
matter.
care.
Yep.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
Like
yeah.
I met some amazing knowledge keepers, and I love these two to death. They both married white men, and so they had the same issues. And unfortunately, a lot of Aboriginal people don't talk about the ostracization you get if you marry a white person or you don't stick to your ways. And you know what? Life isn't like that. It's not black and white anymore.
That's
It's
right.
never been black and white. To be
That's right.
healthy, you have to incorporate. You have to be a part of something.
Well, that's it.
But I do understand where a lot of these older Aboriginal people come from,
course.
because it was taken away from us forcibly.
Yeah.
So they hang on to it for dear life. But you're not living. You're protecting, and so it's not a life, right?
That's
So
right. And I mean, as a non-Indigenous person myself, I'm constantly trying to learn and trying to incorporate. Like, I resonate with a lot of the Indigenous ways of living. It makes a lot of sense. Like the medicine
some of
wheel,
it's
like some of this stuff. I'm
common
like,
sense.
the smudging.
Yeah.
It's like a little meditation in a way.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. And I'm constantly learning. And the more I learn, the more I could see. Because I work with a lot of youth who are Indigenous, right? And they're not connected with their culture. And, part of me, like you said, is like, oh, I wish that they would maybe take the leap. But there's a lot of like, they're listening to rap music and all these Western ideologies and maybe someday they will, but it's sometimes it's tough to see when I'm like, you have beautiful culture and roots
But it's sometimes, like what I love about the Aboriginal is that sense of community that's coming back, that used to be there, that like kind of they call it hippie days now, like where everybody lived together, everybody shared. There was no
Communal
rich,
lifestyle.
no poor,
Yeah.
no homeless, no
Status.
Yeah, there was none of that, and that I love, and it is starting to come back. Enoch is one of the best. I love Billy Moore, and I have talked about him. He was the last chief. He was an amazing, amazing man. Him and I became friends because we both spoke the truth about things nobody wanted to talk about.
Right.
One of the things he did, which got him voted out of Enoch, was he put a liquor store on the reservation. And he goes, I'd rather have a liquor store on the reservation than all our teenage girls go missing, hitchhiking into Edmonton to get alcohol. So that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that goes deep.
Yeah, so, but like, change, you don't have to, I don't think, how many of us are true Aboriginal? How many of us are truly white? How many of us are truly black? Like, we all have choices. And if you want to be 100% living that lifestyle, that's fine. I like being all kinds, like living it all.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And I wish other people would be too.
Well, maybe after hearing this, they might feel a little bit more okay with that.
Like, I joke about it a lot, and like I say, hi, I am the whitest Indian you'll ever meet. You're not supposed to say Indian. I say, no, you're not supposed to say
That's
it.
right. I can say it, not you. Shut up. Well, Liz, listen, I loved having you on the podcast.
Thank
This
you.
was, the beginning of a long friendship, I feel,
I
as
hope
well.
so, yes.
And, I hope that we get this message out to as many people as we can.
Yes.
And that we continue to work together for years to come and spread the word.
We will.
And, yeah.
Like, today was great. I'm learning to get the message across without being so intense. That's one of my...
Well, you were fine today. Trust me. You were more than fine,
Well,
I think.
I've been really wanting
It's
to
tough,
do this
yeah.
because I find it to be a great honor to meet people who aren't Aboriginal, who have went through what I've went through and are willing to share, because we need to get that out there so we can change the systemic failures that we have in Canada.
I agree.
Right? Especially the foster care. That one's the worst.
100%.
Right? We'll get into that one in another podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank
All
you
right,
so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, there we go.